My own father raised his glass and said, to my daughter-in-law, Jenna, the breadwinner who saved my useless son from complete ruin. Laughter erupted around the table, and the echo of those words stabbed me in the chest like an icy dagger. Jenna smirked, eyes glistening with vicious triumph as her fingers toyed with the collar of her blouse. Every gaze turned toward me, their mocking smiles etched into my memory. I clenched my fists beneath the table, fighting to remain composed. The humiliation burned hot beneath my skin. Jenna leaned over slowly, brushing a perfectly manicured hand across my trembling fingers. Her voice dripped with cold amusement as she whispered sharply, "Did you hear that, Mark? Your family knows you're worthless. Accept my cheating, or leave." Her words struck like lightning, instantly burning away every lingering doubt I'd refused to acknowledge. She had finally admitted it, and worse yet, she did it in front of everyone I cared about. Her eyes sparkled cruelly as she saw the shock ripple through me. It wasn't enough for her to betray me privately, no, Jenna wanted witnesses. My heartbeat pounded in my ears, each beat reminding me of her deception. I felt frozen, my breath caught painfully in my chest. I scanned the room, desperate for a single ally. My sister avoided my gaze, ashamedly examining her drink. My best friend, Alex, stared at the floor, biting his lip, unable to meet my eyes. Everyone had chosen a side, and it wasn't mine. My thoughts flashed back to the signs I'd ignored, the late nights, Jenna's sudden interest in fitness, the expensive perfume she never wore around me. But even as the truth blared loudly before me, my mind struggled to grasp the full horror of it all. Jenna had crafted the perfect betrayal, transforming our marriage into a spectacle. Jenna lifted her chin, defiantly challenging me, waiting for my reaction. My chest tightened. Every fiber of my being screamed to yell, to argue, to fight, but I didn't. Instead, I slowly stood, a ghostly calm washing over me. No yelling. No tears. Just quiet resolve. "I understand," I said softly, my voice cutting through the tense silence. Jenna's smirk faltered slightly, not expecting this quiet strength. Without another word, I walked toward the door, my footsteps echoing loudly in the hushed room. My father shifted uncomfortably, realizing perhaps for the first time the severity of his toast. "Mark, wait," Jenna's voice cracked with sudden uncertainty, but I didn't pause. My hand reached the doorknob, cold and firm beneath my grip. As I stepped outside, the night air slapped my face, sharp and liberating. Driving away from the home that had become a stage for my humiliation, I glanced at my phone, which lit up repeatedly, texts from Jenna, frantic, angry, desperate. Calls from my family begging me to turn back. But the damage was irreversible, the betrayal complete. Each mile that passed brought clarity to my scattered thoughts. Jenna had carefully planned tonight's humiliation. She'd hoped I'd crumble, but she hadn't anticipated my quiet dignity. Now, for the first time in years, I felt powerful, free. The glow of streetlights blurred as my vision filled with bitter satisfaction. Jenna had played her hand too boldly, her arrogance blinding her to my potential strength. Tonight, she had expected a broken man, instead, she had awakened someone stronger, more dangerous. A man ready to fight back, not with tears or empty threats, but with calculated, decisive action. And now, as I disappeared into the night, Jenna was about to realize a brutal truth: her mockery was the worst mistake of her life. I didn't sleep that night. My mind replayed every second of Jenna's party, her sly smiles, the way she paraded her new success, the cutting jokes at my expense. I kept picturing the faces in that room, everyone complicit in my humiliation, pretending not to notice how Jenna's cruel jabs cut me to pieces. As dawn crept in, I sat alone in my car, staring blankly at the dashboard, a dozen text notifications flashing in the corner of my phone. I didn't open a single one. I already knew what they would say: apologies, excuses, demands for explanations. Maybe even threats. Jenna never liked to lose control. But as the sunlight filled the sky, the fog in my head started to clear. I realized I hadn't just lost Jenna last night, I'd lost the illusion that my marriage was worth saving. Every moment since that toast had felt like a slow-motion car crash, but now the wreckage was real, and I was crawling out of it. My first move was to get proof. I drove straight to the office where Jenna worked. If there was more to her betrayal, I was going to find it. I parked across the street and watched, feeling like a stranger spying on his own life. Just after 9, Jenna strutted through the glass doors, her walk purposeful, phone glued to her ear, that same confident tilt to her chin. I waited a while, collecting myself, then called my friend Alex. If anyone could help, it was him. "Mark? Jesus, man, are you all right? What the hell happened last night?" I kept my voice steady. "I need a favor. I need to know who Jenna's seeing behind my back." He didn't hesitate. "All right. I'm on it. You're doing the right thing. She's not worth it." The next few hours were agony, long stretches of staring out the windshield, replaying old arguments in my head, wondering how I hadn't seen it sooner. Was it that business trip last month? The gym sessions that always went an hour too long? The new passwords on her phone? My mind filled in the blanks, each suspicion sharpening into certainty. Betrayal always hides in the small details, the way someone's laughter changes, the sudden need for privacy, the little secrets that pile up until you're buried in them. Alex texted me at noon, her office buddy, Tyler. "They've been meeting after hours, people talk." "I'm sorry, man." I stared at my screen, letting the words sink in. Tyler. Of course. Jenna always said Tyler was just a work friend, harmless, just someone she shared office gossip with. Now the truth was as obvious as the bruises her words left on me last night. I felt the anger rise, a hot surge burning away the last shreds of denial. I didn't storm into her office, didn't cause a scene. Instead, I waited, watching, observing. Around 5 p.m., I saw Jenna leave work, her arm brushing against Tyler's as they laughed over something private. Tyler was younger, cockier, with that stupid grin Jenna once said reminded her of me, back when she pretended to love me. I snapped a picture from the car. Hard evidence, nothing left to guess. My hands trembled, not from fear, but from something colder. A part of me wanted to confront them both right there, but I stopped myself. Jenna wanted drama, wanted me to be the pathetic, emotional wreck. Not today. That night, I went home for the last time. The place felt different, cold, empty, like someone else's house. I collected my things quickly, quietly. Jenna wasn't home, of course, probably busy making new memories with Tyler. I left my wedding ring on the kitchen table, right next to the champagne flute from last night's toast. By midnight, I was gone, apartment door swinging shut behind me. My phone exploded with calls and messages, Jenna's name flashing again and again, but I ignored them all. For the first time in years, I felt in control. Tomorrow, I'd confront her. And this time, Jenna would get answers she never expected. I didn't sleep much. I didn't need to. Everything was clear now, icy and sharp. I spent the morning at Alex's place, nursing black coffee while my mind raced through 1,000 what-ifs and what-nexts. Alex kept checking on me, eyes full of worry, but I was already past the breaking point. Jenna had made sure of that. There was no more doubt, no more pretending. I was ready for war. By midday, Jenna's calls had stopped. She must have realized I wasn't coming home. I half expected the police at the door, she was dramatic enough for that. But it was just silence, the kind you only notice when you've finally stopped filling it with hope. At noon, I drove back to our house, not home, not anymore, just the stage for one last scene. Jenna's car was in the driveway. As I got out, I saw her in the living room window, phone in hand, pacing like a trapped animal. When I walked in, she spun around, the fake concern already plastered on her face. "Mark. Where the hell have you been?" she snapped, voice too loud, too rehearsed. I tossed my keys on the table, careful, calm. "Out. Thinking. Want to tell me what's really going on?" She scoffed, arms crossed. "Don't play games, Mark. You embarrassed me last night, walking out like some wounded puppy. Grow up." I almost laughed at that. You humiliated me in front of everyone we know. You called me useless. You announced to the whole world that I was a joke. She shrugged, lips curled into a sneer. Maybe if you acted like a man, people would respect you. I'm done pretending for your sake. It was like looking at a stranger. No regret. No guilt. Only contempt. I remembered the way she used to smile at me, warm and soft, before life and ambition twisted her into someone I couldn't recognize. So, Tyler, I said flatly. How long's that been going on? She stiffened, just for a second, just enough to confirm it. What are you talking about? Don't insult me. I saw you with him yesterday. I know. Alex knows. Probably half your office knows. Her eyes flashed, caught between anger and fear. You're spying on me now? Maybe if you spent less time sulking, I wouldn't need someone else. I stared at her, letting the silence stretch. She fidgeted, defensive now. So, what, you're leaving? Walking away like a coward? I stepped closer, voice low, steady. I'm not leaving. I'm done. You wanted to break me? Congratulations. You did. But I'm not sticking around for the encore. She grabbed my arm, nails digging in. You'll regret this, Mark. You have nothing without me. Who's going to take care of you now? I pulled free, disgust boiling over. I'll survive. I always did. But you just torched the only thing in your life that wasn't fake. She hurled a vase at the wall, shattering it into 100 pieces. Go to hell, she screamed. Her voice bounced around the empty house, echoing long after I slammed the door behind me. Standing on the front porch, adrenaline pumping, I felt something I hadn't felt in years, relief. There was no begging, no forgiveness. Jenna had shown her true colors, unapologetic, heartless, rotten to the core. Whatever we had was dead, and she'd been digging the grave for months. I got in my car and drove, not caring where. I didn't look back. Let her scream, let her break things, let her try to piece together the perfect life she'd so eagerly destroyed. For the first time, I understood that her betrayal wasn't about me at all, it was about the emptiness inside her, the endless hunger for power, attention, control. And as the city disappeared behind me, I swore I'd never let anyone use me like that again. I didn't go to Alex's place this time. I just drove until the roads blurred into unfamiliar suburbs and shopping plazas. I needed air, distance, space, anything but the stale, suffocating memory of my so-called home. I pulled into a cheap motel off the highway, handed over my ID to the board clerk, and collapsed onto a bed that smelled faintly of bleach and someone else's bad decisions. For the first time in years, I had no idea what tomorrow looked like. My phone buzzed every few minutes, Jenna, my mother, even Tyler. I let them all go to voicemail. I wasn't ready to be anyone's project or charity case. I wanted silence, and this grimy little room gave it to me. I lay there, staring at the popcorn ceiling, letting all the rage, shame, and raw disbelief settle like dust. The scenes replayed in my head, Jenna's sneer, her taunts, her calculated apathy. She'd never intended to apologize. She wanted me to explode, to throw a tantrum she could point to and say, "See? That's why I cheated." But I hadn't given her the show. I just walked out, and in doing so, stole the spotlight. A couple hours later, Alex called. I let it ring twice before picking up. "You alive?" he asked, trying to sound casual, but I could hear the worry in his voice. "Breathing. Barely. You did the right thing, man. Jenna. She's poison. Everyone saw it last night. Even your dad called me, said he was sorry. He feels like an ass." That made me laugh, a harsh, humorless sound. "Yeah, well. He should. They all should." Alex hesitated. Then lowered his voice. "Look, there's more. Tyler's not just some fling. People at their office say Jenna's been talking about leaving you for months, about upgrading her life. Apparently, Tyler's got connections she wants, new job, new friends, all that. My gut twisted, but it made sense. It was never about love. It was about status, power, being the center of attention. I let that fact sink in, let it fuel my determination. Thanks, Alex. I'm done with her. I'm not going to be her scapegoat. He paused. What's your plan? That was the million-dollar question. First, I get a lawyer. Second, I get my life back. I want out, and I want everything I'm owed. After the call, I made a list, something concrete to keep my mind focused. Lawyer. Bank accounts. My stuff. Change the locks, cancel cards, close every open door Jenna thought she controlled. I wasn't just walking away, I was making damn sure she felt it. She wanted a show? I'd give her fireworks. Just after midnight, there was a knock at my motel door. For a second, my heart hammered. Jenna? No. She didn't know where I was, and she never would again. I peeked through the peephole and saw Alex, holding a bag of takeout and 2 cold beers. He plopped down next to me without a word, handed me a burger, and switched on the TV to some mindless sports rerun. We ate in silence. Sometimes, you don't need advice, you just need someone in your corner. When the food was gone, Alex finally spoke. You know, you could have stayed and fought. But you leaving? That's the one thing she can't spin. That's the one thing she can't control. Trust me, she's already freaking out. You win by moving on. I nodded, the first hint of peace stirring in my chest. I realized then that winning didn't mean getting revenge. It meant reclaiming my dignity. Jenna had mocked me for years. Now she could scream into the void all she wanted. I was out. I was done. As I fell asleep, the anxiety faded. The anger, the humiliation, all of it began to lift, replaced by something new, a stubborn, quiet hope. I didn't know what the future would bring, but for the first time in a long time, it belonged to me. By morning, my phone looked like it had caught fire overnight, more than 150 missed calls and messages, nearly all from Jenna. The notifications scrolled endlessly, voicemails, texts, emails, even a couple of Instagram DMs. I ignored them all. I could practically hear her shrieking through the screen, the panic finally sinking in as she realized I wasn't coming back. Control was slipping from her perfectly manicured fingers, and Jenna never handled losing well. I scrolled through a few of her messages out of morbid curiosity. The tone shifted wildly. First, she tried guilt. How could you walk out after everything I've done for you? Then came the threats. If you think you're getting anything from the divorce, you're delusional. After that, desperation. Mark, please, let's talk. You're blowing this out of proportion. And finally, fake sweetness. We can work through this, I promise. Just come home. Let's fix things. She must have cycled through every mood in the narcissist's playbook before sunrise. I started my day with a lawyer. The receptionist barely looked up as I walked in, but the attorney, Mr. Hughes, a tough-looking guy with a salt and pepper beard, greeted me with a firm handshake and eyes that said he'd seen this kind of wreckage 1,000 times. I laid out the details, the cheating, the party, the public humiliation, the lies. He didn't flinch. You're not the first man to sit in that chair after getting steamrolled by a woman like your wife, he said. Here's what we're going to do. First, stop all communication except through me. Second, document everything, texts, voicemails, photos. The more evidence, the better. Third, let's freeze any joint accounts she might try to drain. We don't want her playing games with your money. His practical, methodical tone was exactly what I needed. Jenna wanted chaos, drama, an emotional spectacle. I was giving her silence, cold and unyielding, and now, legal consequences. For the first time since this nightmare began, I felt the tiniest glimmer of power. Outside the lawyer's office, the day was bright and cold, wind whipping around the buildings. I stood on the street, breathing deep, filling my lungs with air that tasted like freedom and new beginnings. I called my boss, explained I'd be taking some time off, and didn't bother with excuses. He'd heard the rumors. Jenna made sure her triumphs, and my supposed failures, were public knowledge. Later, Alex met me at a diner. He slid into the booth across from me, 2 coffees in hand. "You surviving?" "Barely," I said, but there was a new edge to my voice, something like resolve. Alex grinned. "Heard Jenna's losing her mind. She called me, left a ranting voicemail. Accused me of turning you against her." I laughed, genuinely this time. "She can't stand not being the victim." "Good. Let her panic," Alex said. "She always thought she was untouchable." "You walking away?" That's the only thing she couldn't prepare for. We spent a while planning next steps, storage units, mail forwarding, getting my name off everything. It felt like strategizing before a big game, only this time, I wasn't playing defense anymore. That afternoon, as I packed up what little I'd brought to the motel, a strange, reckless clarity settled over me. I was done being her scapegoat. Every box I packed, every document I sorted, every call I made was another brick in the wall between me and Jenna's chaos. By evening, she tried one last tactic, a teary video call. She looked haggard, her usual polish gone, voice trembling. "Mark, please. I made mistakes, but you can't just walk away. What will people say?" I stared at her, calm and detached. "Let them talk. I don't care anymore." For the first time, I saw real fear in her eyes, the realization that she'd lost control for good. I ended the call without another word. As night fell, I sat in my empty room, a cold beer in hand, and felt the anger dissolve into something else, peace. I'd survived her storm, and now, finally, the sky was clearing. The days that followed felt like waking up after a long illness. The world looked different, sharper, cleaner, every color brighter than I remembered. I could finally breathe without choking on Jenna's poison. Every hour away from her drama felt like sunlight on my skin. But if I thought Jenna would let me go quietly, I was wrong. She was relentless, her efforts shifting from emotional manipulation to pure scorched earth. I found out through Alex that she'd started telling everyone in our circle that I'd been unfaithful, that I'd abandoned her because I couldn't handle her success, that I was unstable and needed help. The lies spread fast. She was always good at playing the victim, twisting facts until she looked like the tragic hero of her own sad movie. At first, the calls from friends were cautious. "Hey, Mark, just checking in, is everything okay?" Some believed her. Some didn't. But I refused to defend myself. The truth didn't need to be shouted. I let silence be my shield, and soon enough, people started to see through her act. Alex was my rock. He'd known me for 20 years, and nobody could convince him Jenna was the wronged party. Meanwhile, my lawyer moved fast. Jenna's bravado shriveled when she started getting legal notices. The bank accounts were frozen, the house set for mediation, and my absence from her life became very real, very fast. It hit her in the one place she felt most vulnerable, her reputation. One afternoon, she tried showing up at my motel, screaming in the parking lot about all I owed her and how I was ruining her life. I didn't answer the door. The front desk called the cops before I even had to. Watching her get escorted away while she shrieked about betrayal and lies, I felt nothing but grim satisfaction. I was done being her emotional punching bag. Let her wail to the empty air. I started to reclaim my own identity, piece by piece. I got a new phone number, blocked her everywhere, joined a gym again. I started running in the mornings, just to feel my heart beating for myself, not in fear or stress but in effort, in progress. Alex and I made a ritual out of Tuesday poker nights, no drama, just dumb jokes, greasy pizza, and the steady comfort of old friendship. Then, out of nowhere, Jenna's world began to implode. Tyler dumped her as soon as things got messy, telling her he wasn't looking for a permanent thing, and ghosting her completely. Word got around the office, and suddenly Jenna was the subject of office gossip, not the center of adoration. The new friends she'd made through Tyler vanished. She was left with nothing but her own reflection. She sent me one last message, a single, desperate line, "Can we talk?" I didn't answer. I didn't need to. I was out of her maze for good. I focused on the divorce, on carving out a life that belonged only to me. With every meeting with my lawyer, every piece of paperwork signed, the shackles she'd put on my life fell away. I started spending more time with my family, the ones who'd realized too late how they'd let her poison seep into everything. One evening, my dad came to see me. He looked older, regret etched deep into his face. "Mark, I'm sorry for what I said at the party. I should have stood up for you. I should have seen what she was doing." I nodded, not ready to forgive but ready to move on. We both saw her true self eventually. That's enough. As we sat in silence, I felt the last piece of Jenna's hold crumble. She was gone, truly gone, and in her place was just me, still standing, still breathing, stronger than I ever thought I could be. For the first time, I wasn't a victim. I was free. The legal part of the divorce moved fast, which was a blessing. Jenna tried to fight dirty, she tried to drag out the process, threaten with stories, even show up at my lawyer's office unannounced, spitting venom about how she'd built my life for me. But every time she did, she lost a little more ground. The evidence I'd collected, the messages, the photos, the party where she'd humiliated me, was more than enough to keep things fair. My lawyer, Hughes, handled it all with a stone face and the kind of quiet aggression you only get from decades of cleaning up messes like this. Jenna kept sending messages. She switched between rage and desperation, telling me I'd ruined her life, that I owed her another chance, that I would never find someone who could tolerate me. I didn't respond. I didn't need her poison in my system ever again. My family came around, finally. My mother called, voice trembling, and apologized for believing Jenna's stories, for letting herself be drawn in by the woman who'd spent years weaving her webs. My dad took me to lunch, and for the first time in my adult life, he actually listened. "You don't need to prove anything to anyone, Mark," he said, as if realizing it himself for the first time. I nodded. I'd already learned that lesson the hard way. Freedom was a weird thing at first. The silence in my new apartment felt heavy, even after I filled it with old photos and new furniture. I missed some routines, the way Jenna used to make coffee, the way she filled a room with noise, even if it was just background drama. But that emptiness was a blank page, not a void. Each day, I wrote something new on it. A morning run. Cooking for myself. Poker nights with Alex. Small things, but they felt like pieces of a life that was actually mine. Work got better too. I showed up early, focused, no more coming in late or distracted, no more Jenna calling to yell at me about fixing her printer, or picking up dinner, or explaining why her boss looked at her wrong. I could just exist, without being on edge all the time. Some of the friends who'd ghosted me during the scandal started reaching out again, cautiously. I answered a few. I ignored the rest. The funniest thing? Jenna tried to make up with Alex, too. She sent him a long, tear-soaked apology message, blaming the stress, saying she missed the old times. Alex sent her a 2-word reply, "Lose my number." He showed it to me with a smirk, and for the first time in a long time, we both laughed until our stomachs hurt. One Saturday, while out for groceries, I ran into Tyler. He looked rough, hair messy, suit wrinkled, haunted eyes. He saw me, tried to smirk, then just shook his head and walked away without a word. No gloating, no swagger. He looked like a guy who'd gambled and lost everything. I felt nothing but a cold, satisfying indifference. Let Jenna and Tyler stew in their own mess. I was out, and that was all that mattered. Divorce papers arrived a week later. It was official. Hughes called to say Jenna had finally relented, signed everything, no more demands. "Congratulations," he said, sounding genuinely pleased. "You're a free man." That night, I sat on my tiny balcony with a cheap beer, watching the sun disappear behind the city skyline. I thought about everything I'd survived, every insult, every lie, every moment I'd doubted my own worth because someone else told me I had none. And I realized I didn't hate Jenna. I didn't even pity her. I was just done. The chains were off. The story was mine to write. Tomorrow, I'd wake up and the world would be wide open. I didn't know what would happen next. But for the first time, I was genuinely excited to find out. A month after signing the divorce papers, I realized I barely thought about Jenna anymore. The nightmares had faded, replaced by sleep that felt real, deep and dreamless, like my body finally trusted I was safe. The silence in my apartment wasn't oppressive now, it was peaceful, broken only by music I liked, not whatever power anthem Jenna needed to boost her ego before every meeting. Every day brought small reminders of how much had changed. I didn't flinch when my phone buzzed. I didn't dread coming home. I ate what I wanted, went where I pleased, and, for the first time, made plans that weren't shaped by someone else's ambition or mood swings. My world was small, but it was mine. There were scars, sure. Betrayal leaves them, and I'd be lying if I said I was completely over it. Sometimes, when I passed a couple laughing in a cafe, a knot tightened in my chest. I wondered if I'd ever trust that way again. But then I remembered all the things I'd survived, the humiliation, the lies, the slow erosion of my confidence, and realized I was stronger now, not weaker. Alex was still my anchor. We didn't talk about Jenna much. There was nothing left to say. We played cards, grilled steaks on his balcony, and made fun of our old high school selves. It was simple, real. I leaned into it, relearning the basics of friendship without fear that every word would be twisted into a weapon. My family, too, seemed changed. My dad, once so quick to judge, listened more. My mom visited with casseroles and gentle advice. They had seen the worst and come out on the other side, apologetic and eager to rebuild. I let them. Holding a grudge would just be giving Jenna more space in my head, and she'd already taken enough. I started seeing a therapist, nothing dramatic, just a few sessions to sort out the mess. She told me something I never forgot: people who thrive on control can't stand to lose it. That's their weakness, not yours. It stuck with me. For so long, I'd thought Jenna's dominance meant I was weak, that her betrayals were proof I deserved it. But now, I saw the truth: she was empty inside, always needing more, and nothing I did could have changed that. Sometimes I thought about Tyler, but not with anger. He was just the next pawn, and he'd learn the hard way. Jenna would find someone else, play the same games. She'd never be satisfied, and for the first time, that wasn't my problem. One Friday night, months later, I walked into a bar with Alex. The place was loud, bright, full of possibility. A woman at the counter caught my eye, nothing flashy, just a quiet smile, the kind that says she's comfortable in her own skin. For a moment, I hesitated, old doubts creeping in. Then I remembered what I'd lived through, the man I'd become. I ordered a drink and sat beside her. We talked for hours, about music, travel, stupid work stories. She didn't ask about Jenna, and I didn't bring it up. When she laughed at my bad jokes, it was genuine, not forced. I felt a cautious spark of hope. Maybe, just maybe, life after betrayal could be more than survival. Maybe it could be something good. If I had advice for anyone caught in a web like mine, it would be this: don't waste time trying to change someone who feeds on your pain. The strongest thing you can do is walk away, and mean it. Your dignity, your peace, is worth more than any toxic relationship. There's life after the worst heartbreak. And sometimes, it's even better than what you lost. So here's to freedom, to hard lessons, and to starting over. I'm not a victim anymore. I'm not even angry. I'm just ready for whatever comes next, and that's enough.